They tried to stop this marriage, but love had other plans. The night she decided not to turn back, the sky was heavy with clouds, and the air felt sharp in her lungs, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Her hands trembled, not from fear alone, but from the weight of every expectation that had been placed on her since birth. Behind her were years of obedience, sacrifice, and silent compromises. Ahead of her was a future no one in her family had approved, a marriage they had tried with all their strength to destroy. In that moment, she understood something painfully clear. Love can be the bravest rebellion of all. If you believe that kindness, courage, and second chances can change lives, then please take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more real and emotional stories like this. She had grown up in a family where traditions were not just followed, they were guarded like sacred laws. From childhood, she learned what was acceptable and what was forbidden, who she could speak to, how she should dream, and even how loudly she was allowed to laugh. Her parents loved her in their own way, but it was a love wrapped tightly in rules and conditions. Marriage, especially, was never supposed to be about feelings. It was about status, community, and pride. So when love quietly entered her life without permission, it felt less like a blessing and more like a ticking clock. The man she fell in love with did not fit into the picture her family had painted for her future. He came from a different background, with fewer connections and none of the social advantages her parents valued so deeply. Yet with him, she felt seen in a way she never had before. He listened when she spoke, noticed her silences, and respected her dreams instead of reshaping them. Their bond did not grow suddenly, it formed slowly, through shared struggles, small victories, and moments of comfort that felt honest and real. She knew loving him would cost her something, but she never imagined how much. When her family found out about the relationship, the warmth in the house vanished almost overnight. Concern turned into anger, and anger turned into relentless pressure. Every conversation became a reminder of duty and disgrace. She was told she was ruining her family's honor, throwing away her future, and inviting shame into generations to come. The words cut deeper because they came from people she loved. Each day felt like a test of endurance, as if she were standing alone against a storm that never rested. They tried everything to stop the marriage. Emotional manipulation came first, then guilt, then threats disguised as concern. She was reminded of everything her parents had sacrificed for her education and upbringing, as if love were a debt she now had to repay by giving up her own happiness. Relatives called, offering advice that felt more like judgment. Friends of the family whispered stories meant to frighten her, painting a future filled with regret and loneliness. In the middle of it all, she began to doubt herself, wondering if courage and stubbornness were the same thing. There were nights she cried quietly, afraid of the consequences of her choice, and equally afraid of losing herself if she gave in. She imagined a life where she obeyed, married someone chosen for her, and slowly learned to silence the part of her heart that wanted more. That image scared her more than the anger of her family ever could. Still, the loneliness was unbearable at times. Being surrounded by people who loved her yet refused to understand her made her feel invisible. The man she loved never pushed her, never demanded that she fight battles she was not ready for. He stood beside her patiently, even when the pressure became unbearable. His calm strength gave her something her family never had, space to choose. In his quiet support, she found the courage to stand up, not in anger, but with dignity. She realized that choosing love did not mean hating her family. It meant refusing to live a life built on fear. The day she announced her decision felt unreal. Her voice shook, but her words were firm. She spoke about respect, about partnership, about wanting a marriage built on trust rather than obligation. The reaction was immediate and harsh. Some family members walked away, others cried, and some said things that could never be taken back. That day marked a painful turning point. She was no longer just a daughter, she had become someone who dared to choose differently. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of her life. Invitations stopped coming, calls went unanswered, celebrations happened without her. She felt the cost of her choice in the empty spaces where family once filled every corner of her world. Yet even in that silence, she discovered something powerful: peace. For the first time, she was living honestly. The weight she had carried for years slowly began to lift, replaced by a quiet confidence she had never known. As the wedding approached, the tension reached its peak. Her family made one last attempt to stop everything, hoping fear would succeed where pressure had failed. But by then, she had grown stronger. She understood that love does not always arrive with approval, and courage does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is simply staying true to your heart when everyone else wants you to betray it. On the day of the marriage, the absence of her family was a wound she carried silently. She smiled, but there was sadness behind her eyes. Still, as she walked forward, she felt something else too: hope. She was not just marrying the man she loved, she was choosing a future where she could be herself without apology. The ceremony was simple, but it was filled with sincerity, with friends who believed in her, and with a promise that felt deeply earned. Time, as it always does, began to soften what once felt impossible to heal. Months passed, and life settled into a rhythm. Slowly, small cracks appeared in the walls her family had built. A message on a holiday, a quiet inquiry about her well-being. Distance made room for reflection, and anger slowly gave way to curiosity. They saw that she had not fallen apart, that her life had not been ruined by love. Instead, she had grown stronger, calmer, and more fulfilled. When reconciliation finally came, it was not dramatic or perfect. It was careful and fragile, built on unspoken apologies and cautious smiles. Some wounds remained, but there was also understanding. Her family began to see her not as a rebellious daughter, but as a woman who had chosen her own path and survived. Respect replaced control, and love slowly learned how to breathe without conditions. Looking back, she understood that the struggle had changed everyone involved. Her family learned that tradition should protect people, not imprison them. She learned that love is not just about romance, but about resilience, patience, and the courage to stand alone when necessary. The marriage that had once been seen as a threat became a bridge, imperfect but real, between old values and new understanding. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own struggles, sacrifices, or choices made for love, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that reflect real life. Special request: before this video ends, please comment below with a "if you believe love is worth fighting for, even when the world stands against it." In the end, her story was not about defying family, but about redefining love. It was about choosing honesty over fear, growth over approval, and hope over silence. Her family tried to stop this marriage, but what they could not stop was the quiet truth beating inside her heart, that a life lived bravely, even at great cost, is the only life that truly belongs to us.